Marsha.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dr. Marsha Carter McLean, and I am your host for the 2.0 Grandmas podcast. This is a show for grandmas, about grandmas, and by a grandma. I'd like to introduce my very special guest, the money manager herself, Mrs. Yolanda Anderson. So Yolanda's going to tell us about her platform, what she does, how she interacts with grandmas, her background. Oh, she's going to give us all kinds of things. And then she's going to give us some insights on not just financial management, but how you can keep more of your money and not give it away to those grandkids, okay? Every time they come around asking for some. Help them learn how to manage their money as well, okay? So, Yolanda, I'm going to let you take it away. Just tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are and how you got into this field, that sort of thing.
So I am Yolanda Anderson, known as the Money Manager, and I have a background in accounting. I have a BS in accounting. I also have my MBA. But how I got into being the money manager is because I was always the responsible money person that for some reason people used to come to me because they thought I had a good savings account. Right. And I used to give advice. But I wasn't always there. I do have a short story. So when I was in undergrad, I worked my tail off, right? An accounting major, not a easy major to have, and got a good job interview with one of the big banks in the United States. Went to Charlotte for the interview, got the job offer. And then maybe 2 months before I was supposed to start, they was like, it's time for your background investigation. I'm like, oh, cool, no problem. I'm not a criminal. This is easy.
Right.
What happened was they did a credit check. And they were like, hey, you have one thing on your credit card, one thing on your credit report that you need to pay. And I was like, well, what is that? And it was like a Discovery credit card from freshman year that I didn't understand anything about credit cards.
Right.
And it was only like $2,000, I think. But at that time, I think with all the fees and interest, it was like almost $5,000.
Wow.
So long story short, I did not get the job. Because I could not pay that credit card off. And because it was in the banking industry, having good credit was a criteria.
Yeah, it has to be a must, right? I would think. Yeah.
No one told me this as a freshman. So I knew I had to pay my credit card bill, but I just felt like I'll get around to it whenever I get around to it. Whatever. You shouldn't give me a college student, a freshman, $2,000 something. Like
right. But that's how they get you, girl. Yes.
I thought they was going to work with me. So that was the story. So from that point on, I felt like like a failure. So I was like, okay, I'm going to master this thing and I'm going to show my family and friends how to do it as well. And so I was on a mission from that day forward to not get back into debt with credit and to just manage money the right way. So I started building a relationship with money.
That's something I never heard, building a relationship with money. Okay.
That is so important. That is so important. I think that's what we miss. And unfortunately, in a lot of the Black households, we were not sitting at the dinner table talking about money.
Right. Because we were told, be quiet and go somewhere while grown folks talk.
Exactly. So if you eating hamburger meat one day and then filet mignon the next day, you didn't ask about that. You just knew you were eating well or you wasn't eating too well. You know what I mean? You didn't ask the questions, but that's not the way we should be. Because when we're like that, our children grow up to be in a situation I was in where you get access to something and you don't have a relationship with it, that you ruin it, which can ruin you from getting a good job to get you started in your career. So it was a setback for a setup, I say.
Hallelujah.
Right.
I love that.
Right. It gave me the opportunity to just help others. And from there, I just helped family and friends. And I found myself teaching them the tricks to the credits, like how to write letters and things like that. And then after 5 or 6 years, and I was like, you know what? I need to capitalize on this skill set, this talent, and this passion that I have.
Yes.
I did. That's exactly what I did.
Wow.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I'm just amazed at that story because I didn't know that, so I never heard you say that story before.
Yeah, that's the background around it. And it was because I could have probably like my parents wouldn't have had the 5,000, but I did have a favorite uncle that likely would have been able to give it to me, but I was like his favorite niece, and that would have been a disappointment for me to ask him for that money. So I just lost the opportunity, and it was a wake-up call.
Right. You turn lemon into lemonade, as they say. There you go.
Exactly.
And that's what we have to learn how to do. Don't give up. Problem solve. Figure your way out of this mess. And you did that. So that's a wonderful story with a happy end.
And I haven't looked back, and I just continue to stay abreast of the changes. Continue to my true passion is working with women. And so that's where your passion falls into place, because it's women, it's grandmas as well.
Yes.
And as well as the youth. I love working with youth organizations, women groups, but grandmothers that's a population of individuals where you're looked upon for so much.
Yes.
And you can be drained.
Yes, you can. If you're not careful. So what advice do you have? Because that to me is the most important thing, because I know now I have 7 grandkids. They range in age. 21 months is the youngest, 21 years. One just turned 21 last Monday. And now that 21-year-old asked me for money to help him with something. I can't remember what it was, a ticket or something. And so I said, okay, I gave it to him. He said, Grandma, I'm going to give it back to you on such. And I said, okay. And I didn't expect it, to be honest, because that was the first time he ever asked me for money. But he did. And I was like, I'm so impressed, because most kids, like my own kid, when they asked me for money when they were that age, I've yet to get that back. So, but I said to him, I'm so impressed with you that you were a man of your word. That goes a long way. Now, it could be a setup for something bigger later, but anyway, but at least he honored he honored his word. Right. And so that tells me that he's responsible. He's being responsible. So I really like that. But that so often, I know my mom, everybody asks her, the grandkids, everybody asks her for money all the time. Like she's sitting on a money tree or something, as she said. And that's what she said. Do I look like I'm sitting on a money tree to you? Right. Yeah, so that's phenomenal.
The first thing is we have to know how to say no.
Yes.
I mean, it's just that. But it goes a little deeper. Sometimes, as some grandmas, they don't know, they don't have good money management themselves. So they don't work off a budget. So when their grandchild come and ask for a certain amount of money, they're like, oh, sure, here you go. Because that's my grandbaby.
That's my baby. Yeah.
That's my baby. Yeah. Whatever you're doing, I want to support you.
Right.
So, but then sometimes it could put a grandma in a situation where it's like, I really didn't mean, I want to help, but I really probably should have said no on that one because of money, or because I didn't know that the prioritizing of their other responsibilities. Right.
Right.
So it's like, you have to have what they say, get your house in order. Get your books in order first before you try to be that person of giving so much. You make sure your cup is running over, not just half empty. You know what I mean? Because you can't pour into others if you're empty.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
Right. So if you don't have the money, you don't have it. And some grandparents don't like to say no because they don't want to hurt their grandchildren's feelings or feel like they're not the grandma they supposed to be, or whatever it may be. But it's perfectly fine to say no.
Yes.
To your grandchildren, to your spouses, to your friends, to your mama.
To your cousins, your brothers, your uncles, your aunts, and whoever else asks you for money.
Exactly. Right? And it's fine. And what I tell a lot of women and grandmas is that have a budget, like a yearly budget where you actually allocate funds for your grandbabies. Or your children. Whereas they're not coming to you for, like, for example, if you have a grandchild that's about to start college, where you may want to be the one that help invest into the books, right? So it's that conversation to the grandchild. Look, I love you. Grandma, I want to work with you and invest into you because I believe in you. But my role this year for you is going to be, I'm going to help you with your books. Anything outside of that, I'm not going to do. And it's a good opportunity to tell them why. Because grandma lives off a budget. Grandma You're going to be on your way. You're going to get your degree or do whatever you need to do. I don't expect you to come back and take care of me because I'm taking care of myself.
Yes.
And I need to continue to take care of myself once you're taking care of yourself and living your best life. So it's important to have those conversations with your grandchildren and children and family and friends because that is so important.
Yes.
Because you think that grandmas are grandma. You go to grandma for everything.
Everything. Yes.
There when they fall. I want grandma. I want grandma.
Right.
Not mommy, because I'm not a grandmother, but I know my kids. My mother does no wrong.
Right. Right.
She does
right.
no
right.
wrong
right.
in my children's eyes. Like grandma is like just,
golden, honey, golden, like Jill Scott says, golden.
Exactly. That's the word. She's golden. I'm like, oh,
yes.
And the relationship that my mom had with my children is definitely not the relationship that she had with me when I was growing up.
Right, of course not.
It's something totally different. She keeps telling me, you gotta wait till you get your own understanding.
Exactly.
Like, you let her run over you though. No, she's not. I'm just helping her out. And so it's a challenge there, but it's like you have to have that balance and you have to have that conversation with your grandchildren. And if you have younger grandchildren, it can become a fun thing because you can show them money management skills. It's nothing wrong with going back to that penny bank thing. I know when I was little, we used to have a little penny bank. And then it was actually a piggy looking thing. And then when people would give us money, we would put it in the penny bank, right? And then you watch your money grow. Like that's basic concepts that we can continue to use to show our grandchildren and children, look, this is how you start.
Yep.
Because you at some point you're going to want to go to the store and buy your own self a nice toy without looking at someone else to buy it for you. So it starts with grandmas and with the parents, so, but it's all about being able to say no and being able to plan in advance as much as possible and taking care of yourself and your finances, right?
Yes.
So best practice is to make sure you're having some type of savings account. Like, I mean, I know we want to save the world and be the best grandma and mom out there, but do you have emergency money? Like if something was to happen today, if someone lose their job, do you have money saved up that would sustain you in your home that you're currently in for 3 months? Enough time to find another job. Like that's the serious question that we need to ask ourselves.
Yes, definitely.
Like if it was to happen, could we do what would happen? Am I one paycheck from being homeless? Like we need to ask ourselves those questions and really listen to the answer in your head or in your books, in your bank statements, in your bank account. What does it look like? So one of the main issues I have with clients is they have very good jobs, great careers. I work with a lot of entrepreneurs. Just to give you a little background, I worked for a big 4 accounting firm for over 7 years, and then I left and went to Fortune 100. And I was an auditor for a while, and I went into financial management. So what I wanted to do was, and I decided to leave corporate America in 2015 and start my own business. I was like, I want to bring to small businesses and individuals what Big 4 accounting and corporate America was bringing to corporations. So I want to teach them about money management, because a lot of our businesses don't do well. It's not that we're not good at what we do, because most of us are passionate about what we do. We have a skill set of what we do, but we can't manage our books. We can't manage our money. We don't know the cash flow. We have issues financially. You ask someone about their balance sheet. What is that? People just don't know. And it's not that you're supposed to be an expert in it. No, that's why you have people like me.
Right.
But you want to have enough understanding where you're like, wait, it looks like I'm moving towards the red. Right. So I wanted to bring all those process procedures and things to small businesses as well. That's why I started my own consulting firm in 2015 so I can do that. And then I started working more with small businesses. And that's another thing is like, okay, this is great. Because a lot of people will say, I never knew because it's like, I have an accountant, but your accounting is not working for you every day. Your ins and outs, your accountant.
Right. So you need to know those things for yourself.
Exactly. So I'm working with individuals in that standpoint too. And
there are a lot of grandmas out there. And I think more than ever before, I'm seeing grandmas who are starting their own businesses. Like I said, I've been just, on this search for grandmas to see what they're doing, right? Since I've been doing this work. And I found some phenomenal grandmas doing all sorts of things. Right. And yes, that may be something, that may be a whole nother area or niche that, yeah, definitely. Because who knows? I mean, I don't know what they know and what they don't know, but I'm just saying
Right.
there are a lot of them that are starting the business, some starting nonprofits as
Mm-hmm.
well. Within the last 2 months, I think I've talked to 3 people whose grandmas who started a nonprofit.
Right.
Now,
Right.
do you work with that group as well?
I
Those?
do. I do.
Okay,
I
excellent.
do.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
One
Okay,
of the
so maybe we
things.
have to get you on to do a webinar or something for us for
Okay.
those. Yeah, definitely.
And I
Yeah,
have a
that would be
group.
great.
I work with other people that,
Hmm.
like one young lady I work with. That's her thing. Like she helped people actually start their
Mm,
nonprofit organizations.
okay, okay.
We all work together.
Right, right,
Um,
right, right.
but one of the things I find is very challenging is like, and I had to tell my friends, it would be me to tell them this. If we're not talking money, what are we talking about?
Ah, mm-hmm,
We can talk about vacationing, we could talk
mm-hmm,
about hairstyles, we could talk about
mm-hmm,
all the money we spend on getting our hair done, our nails done, and
mm-hmm,
things like that. But what are we really talking about with this money?
mm,
Because I don't want anyone in my circle who you have direct access to me, and then something happens and it's like, oh, I'm about to get evicted.
mm,
Oh, oh, I didn't know I can't get this house I wanted because of my credit. It's like,
mm.
what have we talked about all these years? So
Right,
it's like
right, right.
we need to talk more about real things, like real
Uh-huh.
things that matters. If
Mm-hmm.
you're going into retirement, have you did your pre-retirement planning?
Mm,
Like, let's talk about those type of things. You just
mm-hmm,
can't wait
mm-hmm.
until a year before you're about to retire.
Right.
If you want, but it's not beneficial, you want to do it 5 to 10 years out. You
Mm.
want to make sure that you're looking into that because you may have to make some drastic changes,
Yes, yes, yes.
especially
Because I
after you
think COVID showed us that, right?
exactly, exactly.
Yes.
I was just reading an article and it was saying that I think 401ks got hit about 20% since COVID
Mm,
down.
mm,
And they say that it would take 7 years to get back to that point.
mm.
Some
So
people
what
don't
does
have
that mean? It
7
takes
years.
7 years for you to get your money back where it
Yes.
was? Oh my
Once the
God.
economy picks back up, it would take
Yes.
7 years
Oh
for
my
you to
God.
get back to what you lost. So that's not gaining anything. That's just getting you
Mm,
back. So that's 7 years
yes.
plus the 3 you already been through.
Right.
That's
Wow.
that's not.
Uh, 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 uh.
You know.
Well,
So
well, let us take a little break right here and then
okay.
come back and we can further explore that. Okay?
Sounds good.
All right, good. Okay, so Yolanda, answer this for me. I was thinking as you were talking about grandmas and getting ready for retirement and all that, do you have people do like a worksheet in your consultation to kind of figure out what their goals and dreams and plans and all that stuff is? Is that how you
Yes.
do that? Okay,
So
okay.
when you do a consultation with me, you would get an email from me. And in that email, it'll be like a survey questionnaire because
Uh-huh.
I want to know who I'm talking to before we meet. So I can be
Mm-hmm.
prepared because one thing is important to understand. Finances is an individual thing.
Yes.
It's not one size fit all.
Yes,
We have some
definitely.
basic principles and practices, best
Uh-huh.
practices, but it's individually.
Uh-huh.
So I need to know that person. So prior to the consultation, they'll get like a questionnaire with a series of questions about different things to help me understand where they are and if I'm able to help them.
Uh-huh. Okay. So at Grandma's 2.0, we focus on what I call, this is a theory, it's called the 8 dimensions of wellness, right? And one of those dimensions is financial wellness.
Mm-hmm.
And so this being Financial Literacy Month, right, the month of April,
Mm-hmm.
I think it was so important that I get some financial folks on to talk about, what that looks like. And like I said, it's individualized. It looks different from everybody. But I think there are some, I guess, lack of a better word, generic kind of things that we need to think about, right? When it comes to financing. Like, we could say, yeah, I think you said we must have a budget. And the
Mm-hmm.
budget should be, and we should plan 5 years out not right before we get ready to retire, like the day before, but we should plan 5 to 10 years out. We should help our children build their own financial intelligence by, showing them things early on and not waiting until they're adults and then say, oh, by the way, baby, I meant to tell you, don't get a credit card because, whatever, but
Right.
do it early on. And I also believe in not leaving a legacy, but the legacy doesn't necessarily have to be money. It can be money too, but it also should be knowledge.
Right.
I think about money and about those kinds of things. So what are your thoughts about that? Because I think that's important for grandmas to know.
So a good point you made. I have an auntie that retired maybe 5 years ago. And she's like in a situation, she's like, I don't, she's preparing for life after being on this earth. And she's like, I don't want to leave anything to my children. And I was like, auntie, why not? She was like, because they're not going to do right with anything. I worked hard for this. And I was like, well, auntie, that's really not their fault alone. Like, what did you teach them? Like, how did you help them? You're the go-to for them. Every time they come to you, provide it. So they're 9 out of 10. They're expecting.
Yes.
They're expecting money from you. So I told her, you need to have that conversation now rather than later. And we talked about wills and things like that as well, having estates and stuff like that and trust funds and things like that. But because when you don't know any better, you can't do better. It's
right.
You only can do what you think is best at that time. But if you don't know, you just don't know. So we're in a situation now where education is easy. It's here. We walk around
right at our fingertips. Yes,
at our fingertips all day. It's like, and that's what I love about where we are right now in this world is that we can learn. The world is our playground right now. Because just Google or YouTube is like people want to share knowledge. Now, everything that's out there is not good or
right.
It. You have to be careful.
You need to have some discernment, right?
You have to. You must, because it's some things that's out there that, like, for example, Credit Karma. I have a client and she's like, we worked to get her credit score where it needed to be. And she's like, Credit Karma sent me an email telling me that I qualify for this credit card and I should get this credit card. And I was like, that's not the plan. That's good. They can see your credit and know that you're better. They want to give it to you, but not right now. But they said I can get this amount. We have a plan. Like these apps that we use and things like that. It's business. It's business. So that credit card company that Credit Karma sent the letter from, they're paying Credit Karma for that. You know what I mean? They're paying them. So be careful with things like that because they're giving you just enough information to make you feel good, but then you're back into the same situation. But as far as retirement, I just think that some basic things I always tell my clients is you have to, and especially my women client, I tell them, love your money like you love your boo.
I love that. Love your money like you love your boo. Basic, but true, right?
Yeah. Right. Like I don't want to share my husband with anybody. You know what I mean?
Right,
so
right.
I have to be careful who I give my money to. So it's the same concept. And they laugh just like you just laugh.
Yeah, because that's funny, but it's real.
Right. It's like we have to build that relationship with money. And some of us, we don't get to that point until we are of a certain age. But if I can teach my daughter I'm trying to teach her, but if she can walk away knowing and she knows not to go to college next year and do what I did, I feel accomplished, right?
Yes.
I don't want to repeat history. I don't want to repeat history. Another thing we have to think of is being honest and realistic with our children, our grandchildren, because college is great. That was part of the best part of my life,
Yes, honey. Yes.
But however, that was an expensive lifestyle because of the college tuition, right? Who wants to be in debt? If I had student loans, I don't want my daughter to have student loans. Like at some point, I don't care how smart you are. If you don't have scholarships, we really need to look at what we're doing to put our children and grandchildren in a better position than we were.
Yes.
Like that is so important. And it's like we have to, and I had to tell my daughter, we had a strategy. I was like, list the top 10 schools, paper. I want it on pencil and paper. You're going to write it out. You're going to put the tuition. You're going to put tuition, and then you put room and board, and you're going to equals total. Then we're going to start talking about it. We talked about, why does that school have your major? No, scratch it out. At the end of the day, the best solution for our family was an in-state school.
Right.
Why? Because we need that in-state tuition.
Yes.
And then it has the program that she wants. And it's an HBCU. So it's all her categories, right? But it's not, the only thing is, it's not out of state. That's the only thing. I'm like, we travel a lot anyway.
Right.
Like, we can travel to other places, but don't make that decision just because you want to get away or because you want.
Well, you know, every senior, junior, and senior in high school, they just say, "I can't wait to get out." I remember that I said the same thing,
and I said the same thing too. But it's up to us to make them think a little differently. Because at the end of the day, the grandparents, like my mom, she's retired, but she's been saying for years, "Oh, my grandbaby go to school. I'm doing this for her, and I'm doing this for her." So she's ready to hand her something. Money. You know what I mean? But it's like we have to help them make the best decisions, and that's what we need to. That's what we need to do. Yes. I didn't realize that junior colleges were a good option until I found in America. And they're like, "Oh, I graduated from this school." Okay. Oh, but I went here for 2 years.
Yes. That's the best financial option. And I work at Montgomery College. You know that. Right. And that is the best. And, Rockville, a lot of folks in that area make really, really, really good money. Right. But they send their children to Montgomery College. And then that cuts off 2 years of that high tuition. And that's why they do it.
And it's called being financially sound. Right, exactly. And then once you graduate with your degree with that university on it, you never have to mention your 2 years.
You don't want to.
You finish.
Right. Exactly.
So it's like we have to start thinking differently. In order to get a different result, we have to think differently.
Yes.
And that's just it.
And a lot of those students that do that are much better students when they get to their junior year as well. Because they haven't had to deal with all the craziness in the first 2 years, learning all these things, getting credit card, all those things. Because the credit card companies don't come to our school, far as I know, anyway, trying to get students to buy, to get credit cards. Far as I know, I've not seen that. So doesn't mean it doesn't happen, but I haven't seen it. So again, that's another plus. But again, so I want to kind of share an example with you about my own, my grandson, the one that's 21. So he graduated during the pandemic, June 2020. And so at first, my son, because my husband and I are both college educated. Our 3 children are college educated, right? They all got scholarships though.
Awesome.
So praise God,
Right.
We didn't have to go out of our pockets for anything other than, giving the money, sending the money, making sure they got home and all those kind of things. But for the big picture, we did not. Now, fast forward 20 some years later, our grandkids, we got the first one, the one that's 21 years old. He said he didn't want to go to college. So his dad was so upset, right? Because we all went to college, so you have to go to college. Not necessarily. And this day and age, a lot of kids are not going to college and they still are doing well. They're going to either community college or they're taking these certificates, like technology kinds of things, right? These certifications and getting all these certifications and making sometimes double the money that a 4-year degree will get them.
Yes.
And everybody looked at me, you're a doctor and you're saying no to college. I'm not saying no to college. I'm just saying, let's be smart about this.
And have options.
Right. And have options. Right. And we saved money for him to make, in case he wanted to go, we'll cover this, like you said, we'll cover this amount and we'll do this. But the dad was so upset. So finally, the grandson, he did go he went for the first. He didn't like it. He didn't do well. He said, "This is not for me." So I said, "Leave him alone. Let him find his way." Now he's back in school. He's in one of those certificate programs, taking those certifications.
Yeah.
He feels he's working. He feels much better about himself. He doesn't feel, like they were pressuring him to do it. And I'm like, I'm okay if that's what you want to do, because in the long run, you're going to have all these loans to pay back if you don't. And then if you don't do well, you still got the loans to pay, but they're going to say, "Oh, well, don't worry about it since you didn't do well." That's not how that works.
No,
right? That's not how that works.
That's not how that works.
So exactly. Then we have another one that's in college now, and this is her first year. So great student, knew she wanted to go to school, all those things. got funding and all of that. So we're blessed there. So we help out with some of the, some of the tuition, I think it is what we help. But again, it's the amount that we say we're going to do. We save for you. And so this is what we're doing. Once that run out, kid, you're on your own kind of stuff, right?
Exactly.
But again, that's kind of how you have to do it. And like I told them, don't force these kids to go to college, because sometimes when you force people to do things, they won't do their best.
Right.
Let it be their decision. Yes.
Right. And we was taught, I know for me, that college was the way to go. The best.
Yes,
way.
Me too.
Pretty much it's either military or college. Like that's where we need to go. But now we have so many options. Like,
yes.
I mean, trade would never go away. Electricians don't have to go to college to be an electrician. And
exactly.
We had a plumber come into our house just to change the garbage disposal. And off the top, it was $150 just to come out.
I know.
I was like $100.
Service call. Right.
Exactly. So no college degree.
Right. That's what my daddy did. That's how I was able to go to college. Right. My daddy was a plumber. But I mean, and they've always made money.
Exactly. So it's other options. And then now with the social media and with technology, I mean, I think that if your child is going to go to school to grandchildren, they should go because they want to go, and not because it's a tradition in the family, because it's a costly situation.
Yes.
It costs to go to school. And even if you're on a scholarship, you don't want to waste your time, because time is valuable.
Yes.
Wasting time is a whole nother situation.
And then, and even if you're, like people say, well, HBCU is cheaper. It may be a little cheaper, but still, it costs.
Right.
Still it costs. I don't know what it is. My granddaughter rather is at Virginia Tech. And so, that's one of the big whatever, but that costs quite a bit. Thank God she was a smart girl and got some scholarships to go. Right. But but I tell you, it's pretty tough. But grandmas, like you say, are integral in these decision making, if they will. Right. And they need to be a part of it, because like you said, people look to us to help out in many of these situations. So it just makes sense for us to start talking to our grandkids early on about things, about money, how it matters. Let's build a relationship. And they say, you've heard that saying, money is the root of all evil. Huh?
No, absolutely not.
What does that even mean? Anyway.
That's not true. Not having money will lead to evil.
Yes. Yes. And like you see, you got all those folks in jail. So why did you do this? Well, I didn't have no money, so I had to,
Exactly. That's just, so no.
Yeah, that's another way of looking at it. I don't think I ever heard anybody else say it that way, but it will lead to evil. But that is true. That is so true, because people want what they want.
Right.
Yeah. And they will do whatever it takes to get it. Yeah. Wow. This has been a good conversation. I hate that it's almost over. Oh my God. Yes, already 30 minutes. Wow.
Oh, okay. This was good. What? I just felt like I was talking to my girlfriend.
Exactly. That's what I mean. Yeah. So we, I kind of pride myself into not making it so formal, but just having a conversation, but a useful conversation. Right. Because I think people can really benefit from hearing about, the different things, and especially money, because in this United States, we have so many issues with money. It's so sad. And anytime that, we can share the knowledge and help people really get a different outlook about it, I think is a plus for us. So we'll have to invite you back again, Yolanda, so that you can
come back.
Yeah. So maybe we even do a webinar, maybe an hour long, so we can do some things, and you can have us do some worksheets or something. I think people would really, yes, we really benefit from that. I really do. So tell us how we can get in touch with you.
I am Yolanda Anderson, the Money Manager. I am on all social media platforms. On Instagram, I am Y-O, Money Manager, and it's MGR, not the entire word spelled out. And on social media, I am Your Money Manager. I'm sorry, Your Money Manager, as well as my full name, Yolanda Bonds Anderson, the Money Manager.
All right. So thank you. Any last minute advice? Any final thought that you want us to keep in mind when we're talking about money and financial wellness?
Yes, let's see what I want to say. Build a relationship with your money. Just have a relationship with your money. Just like you have relationships with your man, your friends. you need to have that same relationship with money so you can know when you need to stop it and when you need to use it and when you need to just say, let's have a conversation, money. Let's talk.
Yeah, what we doing here? Right.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, always be honest and be honest about where you are financially. Be honest with yourself. That's your personal business. Be honest with yourself. And if you need help, find people like me, Yolanda Anderson, the money manager.
Yes. Thank you, Yolanda.
Thank you for having me, Dr. Marsha.
Oh, you are welcome, girl. It was my pleasure. This is the 2.0 Grandma's podcast, and my name is Dr. Marsha McLean. This is a show for grandmas, about grandmas, and by a grandma. So thank you, Yolanda.
Thank you.